you find yourself lacking in motivation on your fitness journey, stick around. We might have something for you. Hey, I'm Mike.
And I'm Twain.
Welcome to this podcast of 40 Plus Fit, the podcast that goes beyond the fads and delves into the science behind sustainable weight loss and fitness for the 40 plus crowd, where we bring you expert insights on exercise, nutrition, and healthy habits, empowering you to make informed choices and create a personalized plan for success.
For success. That's the key word here. And getting better at that intro every week.
I don't know. This week, I think I stumbled a bit more. But yes, 1%, as you say, 1% every week.
We should put like a little rap beat, as you're narrating out the full intro to it.
A bit of 8 Mile from Eminem, is it?
Maybe that's motivation, isn't it? Like that's gonna hype you up. Most that used to be my own hype up song for a bit. Back when I was younger and I listened to music in the gym.
You said like that when you were younger, but I found we were in the gym probably about a year ago, and all the music was playing, and everybody's like working out, and you can see it's like okay,
Yeah.
and then Eminem 8 Mile came on, and you could just see everybody's intensity in the gym just lift, and it's like whoa, okay, we're ready for this. We're motivated, man. We're gonna do this.
And that's the power of music. That is the power of music.
And it's just there's just some songs that just hit different, right?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, everybody has their little hype song, right? Because
Yeah.
there's some meaning to it. I mean, obviously, there's the underlying beat, how it, how the bass pushes you, how it kind of triggers certain like feelings or physical feelings in you as you listen to it. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with lyrics and what it means to you, right? Like I have friends who hype up to like Taylor Swift, and I have friends that hype up to like Lamb of God, right? So I think it really is like whatever you feel comfortable with. The funny thing on that though, since we've been talking about music and to lean into like motivation, I've actually noticed that because I stopped listening to music since April last year in the gym.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually don't listen to music when I train. And my reason for that was it was actually spurred because I was using this like nice noise canceling headphones,
Okay.
but I was sweating on them so much that it was literally destroying
Yeah.
the headphone fabric itself. So I had to replace the pair of earphones, and I was like, oh man, okay, so I'm not going to use this again. And instead of getting a replacement like earbuds or something, I decided, hey, you know what? Like, why do I actually need music? Why do I actually need music? What does the purpose of music do for me when I'm training and working out? Because as I'm exercising and as I'm training, um, shouldn't I be focused on the training itself? And so I decided to become a lot more mindful about how am I actually doing my reps, what am I focusing on, things like this. And my revelation to that was I was using music as a distraction from all the pain and trying to, get through the workouts.
Oh, interesting.
And I realized that by doing that, I was actually not maximizing my workouts as much as possible.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's
Now,
interesting. Oh,
I do think I
yeah.
want to caveat this and say, like, look, right now, my goal is I'm trying to do bodybuilding. Like specifically, I'm trying to build as much muscle as I can in order to go and step on stage competitively. So, like my training, I think there is a lot of merit to being in the training as I'm doing it.
Hmm.
If I was just like, just trying to be generally fit, trying to get just generally stronger, it probably will not matter too much. Like you could listen to music, you probably will not have too much of a different kind of effect, I think. But this is what I noticed, like just the difference in the quality of my training feels different. And I'm still getting results either way. So I can't really say I haven't done a controlled one for one experiment. I can't say like, oh, no music versus listening to music has made a difference or something. But just something I noticed, just being more mindful about the event or the thing that you're doing. It
Hmm.
actually became a bit more of a meditative experience when I trained then, because then I actually get into the set and I'm so much less bothered by other things like whatever random music a gym is playing, it doesn't bother me. People walking around close to me, it doesn't bother me. I notice I'm so much more dialed in when I train, and it makes me feel more calm. So those are just things I noticed from the experiment. Yeah, so I
Interesting.
haven't been listening to music at all in the gym.
Interesting. I used to use the headset because it provides background noise. So it then filters out the consistent sound that's coming through that, I
Um,
can control compared to random noises and everything
yeah,
that's happening all around. So it helps me to focus.
Gotcha.
But like you as well, probably for about a year now, I haven't been using. I just listen whatever's in the gym nowadays. I'll just listen to that. Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about that? Like, has that affected your motivation or helped improve it a bit more, or just made it a little bit more sustainable in some ways?
I wouldn't say it's like improved my motivation. I think
Okay.
my motivation comes from somewhere else. It doesn't come from the music. I that's it. Like when songs like Eight Mile from Eminem or these kind of Linkin Park, these kind of songs come up, I do like, oh, let's just get into this, man. Oh, I just have to jump around. I have to do something. But I
For
think
sure,
that's
for
that
sure.
that could be for anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's only happening in the gym. It's
Yes.
like it's like some songs as well. There you listen to them and you always end up either tapping your foot or tapping the table. It's just like an instinctive thing that happens. It's not that you're motivated by it, I would say, but it just drives something. You're responding to it, if we can put it that
Yeah.
way. But I just want to say is that this is very interesting how we got onto this whole chat about music and motivation. Like
Yeah.
if we were actually a professional podcast, this would be all scripted in and it would be a fantastic segue into today's topic. But in our case, it's like, okay, let's just chat. And it just so happened to actually play about the part that we wanted to chat about today. And that happens to be motivation. How do you actually stay motivated and consistent with exercise? Because we know it can be tough, especially when you go it alone. And so
Yeah.
we wanted to maybe just look at some of the benefits that you could look at in the various ways that people work out today.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we could break it up into two different categories. We could look at what's the benefits of maybe having a workout buddy.
Hmm.
Um, and then we can also look at what's the benefits of maybe joining a fitness community, like maybe a
Hmm.
what's that, CrossFit, or maybe just a running, community running or cycling or
Or
whatever.
even just like the local gym, like
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many like boutique gyms they are set up where they have their own little internal, gym community of clients and people just trying to get better.
Yeah, that too. So if we could look at that, we break it up into those two just to help structure our conversation today so that
Yeah.
we come across a little bit professional. Um, if we
I
had
think
to,
we're way past that. That boat has sailed. That boat has sailed. So we let's just do our best here.
uh, all right, so let's have a look. Let's start off with workout buddies. Like you've been exercising for what, 20, 30, 50 years already.
Hey man. Hey. I'm just 30. I'm approaching 40. I'm approaching 40. You're the 40 plus, okay? In this 40 plus fit context. I just deal with a lot of 40 plus people in my work. But but yeah, I mean I'm approaching that. Jokes aside, I have been training since like training proper in the gym since what 16 years old? No, 15 years old. So that's 20 years now. Um, yeah, I started just like doing a lot of body weight stuff, like pull-ups and sit-ups and push-ups when I was younger, like around 12. But then I officially went to the gym when I was like 15. So yeah, so I think it's around then. 20 years.
So 20 years. But
Yeah,
I
man.
think like when I was younger, I worked as a consultant. And so consultants,
Mm.
we tend to drive from here to there to all the different clients to go and see.
Yep.
So when it came to like, I was driving, say, for 3 years, I'd driven probably the same amount that many people drive in 10 years because of the amount of driving that I say. So when
Yeah.
we're talking here in context as well with regards to how much Twain has been training, he says, yes, 20 years. But with the amount of effort and the amount of focus and everything that you've put into it, you could equate that to more than 20 years experience to the layman person.
Yeah, I think in terms of the unnecessary effort being applied, I've done things where now looking back on it, it was just a waste of time. I didn't need to do that. But yeah, I do think there's a lot to be learned in each of our journeys, right? And
Yeah.
so that's why we try to share as much as possible here.
Right.
But getting back to the motivation
Yeah.
aspect of things, right? Workout buddies.
So in that
What's the
journey that you've had, like if you
yeah.
if you think back in your 20 years that you've had, has there ever been a time when you like you sort of maybe you've lost a bit of interest and it's like how shall we say, the motivation has dwindled a little bit. Do you find that actually linking up with somebody that can hold you accountable and give you like a bit of a support system in a way, has enabled you and maybe empowered you to break through any of those motivation slumps in order to continue on in your journey?
Yeah, I think largely so. Yeah, you're absolutely right in that. Okay, to be honest, for the most part, like easily the first 10 years of my training life, I was, yeah, I was largely intrinsically motivated. I was motivated by something that was not very positive. I was motivated by a lot of anger. I was motivated by a lot of negative feelings. I wanted to build myself up because I wanted to like build myself into this huge shell that could tank a lot of these kind of negative stuff. I feel if like I could get bigger, nobody's gonna mess with me. Nobody's gonna like look at me wrong, and nobody's gonna kind of like bully me or anything of this kind of nature. Um, but then the good thing is I kind of grew out of that eventually, as we do, right? You start something with a certain motivations, and then motivation evolves. It does evolve. And the thing about motivation also is that it wanes sometimes, right? It ebbs and flows. So sometimes it wanes, especially as we get a bit bored with the things that we're doing for whatever reason. And I do find that sometimes getting some accountability has helped me. I remember one of the things that really helped me was finding a workout buddy, which was a lot easier to do back when I was in uni. And probably that's the last time I actually had a like proper workout buddy. And it's this guy named Max. So I'm not sure if he's going to be listening to his podcast at all, but yeah. So he's like my junior in school. So it was like 1 or 2 years younger than me, or 3 years. I can't remember at this point, but um I had just come back from my exchange. I was like, I need to get back into shape. So I just come back from traveling around the States, and I was 6 years in Canada, 6 months in Canada, not 6 years, 6 months in Canada, and I was like back after traveling, for like almost 2 months plus around backpacking around the States. So I was in like terrible shape. Okay, I mean like good shape for the average person, but like terrible shape for somebody who's trying to be muscular. So I needed to kind of get back into it. And I asked him like, do you want to train with me? And this is what it's going to entail. This is what we're going to do. And he was like, oh hell yeah, I've always wanted to like train together with you and stuff. So it was a really really good experience. Like that was like my last experience with like having an actual workout buddy. So I do think if you can find somebody to go and work out with, you can find somebody to go on a similar plan with, it would definitely be very useful. Just because having that extra support, knowing that if you're going to go to the gym, you have to kind of like report into each other of your results. Share with each other your wins, share with each other your losses, the kind of
Yeah.
stuff. If you didn't make a lift here and there, things like this. It just makes it so much more enjoyable when you're sharing this journey with somebody else. Yeah.
I think for me, it's the same kind of thing. When I started working out, I was about 14 years old. I went with a friend of mine. We went to the local gym because I grew up in a very small town. So I think we only had one or two gyms in the entire town.
Oh wow.
So we went to this one, which was the more fancy one. And we ended up getting this Argentinian bodybuilder who had won, I don't know how many competitions, and he worked out the
Yeah.
program and he gave us a diet to follow and all these different things. And so we went for this. And one of the good things about it is that my friend's parents were actually very good, very consistent, very, um, how shall I say, helpful in the regard is they would actually take us to the gym. Well, specifically, I think the father was mostly doing it. But this
Mm.
helped me is like that took that excuse out. So, I can't make it to the gym today because it's too far. I don't have transport. Don't have. I see this time of the day. Boom, there, my buddy and his dad is here to pick me up. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I need to go, and off we go, and then we'll work out. So you can chat. You can chat about your day. If there's anything that's irritating or been stressing you out, you have that moment to really uh, bond with your buddy. And
Yeah.
then it's like you say, it provides that healthy competition. It's like you come and you bench at that time, let's call it 20 kilograms.
Yeah.
Wow, your buddy can't. hold back. He has to bench 22. But I still
Yeah.
remember that to this day, I'll never forget it though, is we were doing lateral raises, and we're probably doing about maybe 6 kilograms dumbbells on either
Yeah.
side at the time. And next to us, both of us, next to us over here was this older lady, and she's probably about maybe 56, 58, probably around there.
Yeah.
And she's using 8 kilogram dumbbells. And so obviously now my buddy looks at me, I look at my buddy, we look at this. It's like, no, we can't take this. So we go get 10 kilograms. And we start going with the 10 kilograms. And then she goes and she gets the 12 kilograms. And we're like, what the
Oh,
heck,
wow.
man? So we're like, okay, we'll go get, I think, the 13 at that time, because luckily after a while it's increments. And so we got the 13. And I can't remember the amount that we ended on, but I can remember is that we were not doing lateral raises by the time we were doing that final weight. We were just swinging the weight, and hopefully it gets some height that
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
believe that we're actually working out. But doing this with him, it gave us that competition. We were like working together. We're both hindered by this this lady working out next to us. It's like, we can't take this, man. Come on, let's go. And we motivate each other. Come on, lift, 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 lift. We can't be outdone by a grandma. And we went and we continued that. And from building that friendship through that gym, right? We're still buddies today. And
Yeah.
this is like many, many years later. But it was this enjoyment that we got out of it that came out of that healthy competition.
Yeah.
The other thing that we both suffered in silence or suffered together was the diet. When we first started trying out protein shakes, and at that time we had like a cereal that we drink for the carbs of it. And there's like so many different things in this, because it's not like the protein shakes that we drink today. This is a old school kind of protein shakes. And I remember it's like at break time, we bring it out and we're like, okay, buddy, let's get this going. Oh, cheers. And we drink, we're like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. Oh, but get it down, get it down. Come on, come on. Motivate each other to get this down. And then it's like you get it down, and it's like, okay, we suffered, we got through that. Oh, fantastic. Well done, well done. Okay. But then for like the rest of your school day, you burp. And every burp that you have is like a different taste from whatever ingredient was in that protein shake. Oh, I tell you, it was interesting times.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can look back on all these stories, right?
Yeah.
And it really just highlights like how much enjoyable it makes the process. Like getting fit obviously is going to be a very important thing, a very necessary thing even, especially as we get older, to be able to keep up with these things. And yeah, like getting somebody to kind of join you in that journey can make it that much more enjoyable and less lonely. Yeah.
I think
One thing I would say that sometimes getting a workout buddy, especially if you're choosing a workout buddy, is most people would suggest that you get somebody that's around your level, I think. But I would reckon if you are anything like me, you might be better off getting somebody that's above your level. Maybe not too far above, but just above where you're at. Um, because I think that also allows you, number one, to kind of learn more, and number two, like push even more and make better progress. Because if like two people are around the same level, sometimes it makes it a bit
more of a social thing.
more difficult for everybody to kind of like progress, right? Yeah, and I speaking of this from experience as well, because like my first set of workout buddies, so the very last the very last workout buddy I had was Max, right? But like the very first time I actually entered the gym, I actually made some friends and said, "Hey, can I work out with you guys?" Because I had no idea what I was doing. And I saw these two guys who looked like, at least at that time, they looked relatively buff to me. And I was like, okay, cool. I think this is something I can like strive towards. I want to strive towards, you know? And actually looking back, I realized that they weren't actually that buff, when I think about it. It's just that to me at the time, from where I was starting from, they look pretty buff. And it's like, I want to aspire towards that. And so that's kind of how like I made friends with them, and I saw what they were doing, and I was like, hey, can I like join you guys? Do you mind if I work out with you all, because I have no idea. Can you teach me how to do this thing? And they were very nice. They were very, very nice. This one Malay guy, this one Chinese guy. And then both of them together, they were like, hey, like we work out the session, and then after that they asked me like, okay, so when do you usually come down? Do you have a program? That kind of stuff. They were so nice about it. And I think this goes for like anybody in the gym, really. Like if you chat with anybody, okay, if you chat with anybody that looks intimidating in the gym, chances are, and they look very well developed, chances are this is their thing. And as with anybody who has a good, interesting, passionate hobby, chances are they are so passionate about it, they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
So like don't be afraid by people that look intimidating. Sometimes they are actually just waiting for somebody to ask them, and they're like, oh, but I've been waiting for this for so long, and they want to tell you about it. So anyway, these two guys, they kind of put together, like they say, this is the program we're doing, this is what we do, this is the days we come. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll just align it up with you. Of course, the I had the benefit of just being like unobligated to anything else, right? Being a kid. So I just had to go to the gym. I had to make sure I go to school, I go back home, like, life's good. And so I went and trained with them. And the thing is, like, when I started out with them, I was struggling. I couldn't lift like anywhere near the weights they were lifting. But then like week on week, I'll push, they will push me, they will keep, help me with force reps, assisted reps, all these kind of stuff. And I was doing tons and tons and tons of volume. Like by any measure, if I were to look at the program that they put together, it's absolute shit. Like by any understanding and knowledge of the workouts and training principles that we know now and that I know now, it's absolutely crap. But the fact is, at that point in time, what I got out of that session and out of that experience with them is so much more important. It's about like just pushing beyond what you think you can do, pushing your limits, like getting comfortable with being pretty uncomfortable, and then like not putting an artificial ceiling on yourself as to what's achievable. Because unbeknownst to me at that time, like a lot of people were actually taking steroids already. And in fact, these two people that I looked up to or I was joining in, they were actually taking steroids. I just didn't know it.
Oh.
Yeah. And I mean, I was still an impressionable young kid, right? So I was still under the impression that, like Hulk Hogan just took his vitamins and that, Ronnie Coleman was natural. So I was not the smartest kid in that sense. But the thing is, because of my ignorance, it allowed me to not put any limitations on myself. Now, of course, is that potentially risky, blah, blah, blah. We could go into that discussion easily. But I think the main thing I want to take out of this is that if you find a person just above that level where you're at, sometimes going to them and getting help and just training with them could be the thing that you need. And because of them, I made so much progress, so much gains in like 6 months that they started asking me what I was taking. And the funny part is like um, at the end of it, because I mean I was just like new to it, right? And I actually made so much more progress than them. Eventually, by the time the year came, I stopped training with them about 6 months in, and I started like understanding a bit more about training. I started going to a slightly different gym, all this kind of stuff. So I left that set of workout buddies. I actually like within that year itself, way surpassed whatever they level they were at already. Yeah.
Hmm. Well,
So sometimes just getting like the correct set of workout buddies can be interesting experience. And just having that, I think, motivation built in where because you're able to push you're able to see the kind of results that you are wanting to get, right? And the more results you see, the more motivated you are to kind of keep going at the thing, especially if you're kind of new to it as well.
yeah, that's true. The importance of selecting your workout buddy, I think, is something that's often overlooked. But with that
Yeah.
in mind, is like, what are your thoughts on having your spouse as your workout buddy?
That's actually a pretty interesting question. I think it all depends on whether or not your spouse themselves is already into working out. And maybe the principle of it will be more to do with, are you and your spouse kind of like around the same level with regards to fitness? So let's say like if I'm into bodybuilding and stuff, I mean my wife isn't. It wouldn't match for us to go to work out together.
Yeah.
She does her own set of workouts. I do my own thing. She does like body weight stuff at home and things to keep her mobile and energetic and strong enough. But she doesn't really lift that much weights at this point in time. She's looking to return to it, yeah. But like even then, also we won't be training together as a workout pair just because we are on such drastically different levels and different intent. It's not even the levels that are different, but the different intent. Like I go and I look at the training as this thing that I need to do, and the level of the training I need to do is pretty intense. For
Yeah.
her, it doesn't have to be, you know. So I think understanding that difference is quite important. I think most of the people that are listening to this are probably not going to be in my shoes of like, being very serious about committing bodybuilding because again, it's such a niche sport. Like you can do other more important things with your time. But if you're just looking to get fit and your fitness is not really there, it's really good to have like maybe your spouse come along on that journey, especially if they themselves are actually also relatively fit. They might be that motivator for you. But of course, this also lends itself to the certain dynamics of the relationship. I wouldn't know about that. It depends on what your relationship is with your spouse, right? End of the
Yeah.
day, that's the thing that like how do you communicate these things? Uh, you
Yeah.
know. So
I think
you want to make
yeah.
sure the relationship in the setting that setting is not is conducive to actually being workout buddies. I think that's how I would describe it.
I think the one point to that I always like to ponder on is that, motivation doesn't start in the gym. Motivation actually starts at home because you have to go put on your shoes, you have to go put on your clothes before you
Yeah.
go to the gym. So the motivation actually begins at home. So when I look at workout buddies, I don't always put it under the umbrella term as like, okay, we have to actually do the same exercises. But I
Hmm.
find is like, okay, so we're going to the gym together. You're
Yes.
going to do your exercises on that side of the gym. I'm going to do my exercise on this side of the gym.
Yeah.
But we can still share our experience of, how was your workout? Oh, I struggled with this. Oh, how'd you do that? Did you improve? Oh, fantastic. Oh, very well done. Oh,
Yeah.
let's celebrate that today. So you still get the element of a workout buddy, not necessarily that they're actually there uh, spotting you while you're doing your
Yeah.
workout.
Yeah.
And so from when I look at spouses being your workout buddy, I generally try to look at it from that perspective because like I would also say is like my wife doesn't lift the same weights that I do.
For
Um,
sure.
because she's half the size of me. So that does play a part.
For
Um,
sure.
but she does a very good job in motivating me and making sure and keeping me accountable for going to the gym and working out and making sure that I actually see them all through. This even
Yeah.
helps, like, some days, you just wake up and there's just no motivation to go. It might be that you had a party the night before. It might be that, the skies, you see all the gray clouds coming through. Um, but I find is like if I rely on those feelings like that, I'm going to miss a lot of workout days.
Yeah.
But having
100%.
a spouse that understands the journey that you're on and was always pushing and prodding in a constructive way helps a lot because that keeps your accountability going.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Like, I think it's a lot to do with the accountability component because what you said about motivation, it ebb and flows, right? Like, you're not always going to feel like you want to go and do the workout. In fact, most of the time, I would reckon most people don't feel like they want to go and work out.
Yeah,
But once they do the workout and they finish the workout, they actually feel really good. Like, nobody ever regrets getting their workout in.
that's right.
Um, and
Except
I
maybe the
think
next
from
day.
that angle, yeah, from that angle, like having if your spouse is willing to go along with you in the sense of like they are adopting their own fitness journey, and you can both go to the same area, can put out the time together to go together. I think that's fantastic. Like I think that's the dream, to be honest. Because imagine bonding with your spouse over like something as qualitative as fitness. I think that's such a great way to do that because it's so representative of like self-improvement, so representative of like chosen struggle, right? And these are things that it's easy to bond with somebody that matters to you over, and then you both kind of grow from that experience.
I will say it does help being 40 plus because sort of the ego has left the building and your maturity has kicked in. And so you start understanding that workouts are more about muscles, less about muscles, or more about there's more to workouts than muscles.
More to work out than just
Yeah.
muscles, yeah.
And
That's
so
how you look, right? Like it's not just about that.
correct. So you get to bond about that as well. You can drive each other on, okay, what's your health like? What is your mobility like and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Like mine is one of the things that to this day I struggle with. But obviously my wife being Chinese is pretty good, is flexibility. Like I can't even sit and watch TV with my legs crossed. I cannot. I cannot get them crossed. It's just no flexibility in that regard. And so that's something we can always laugh about and we can journey on together where she tries to help me get more flexible.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like that's a great way to develop the relationship further, to be honest. Like have a good workout buddy. I mean, I've seen it happen in the opposite direction too, where like it's not done properly, and then example, you try to force the spouse into into going to the gym when they don't really want to go to the gym or something. Like you get, I guess maybe again goes back to what's the nature of the relationship, how sensitive are you to kind of bring up the topic, how do you actually approach it, right? There's so many ways that
mm.
it could be done to make it work, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, you always look at it from what's more important. This is not strictly with a spouse, I suppose. But what's more important, the spouse or the workout, right?
Hmm.
And when I look at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, if I'm going to stress out my spouse with a workout, then I'd rather just go and work out.
Yeah.
But if I can inspire her to work out, then that's a different story. And so
Yeah.
then I'll focus on it. But if it's going to be a stress, I'd rather just leave it. And because, like they say, right, happy wife equals happy life. So, so why shoot yourself in the foot?
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Right. So obviously, not everybody can find a workout buddy, right?
Yeah.
So what is the other option that they have?
Well, this is where you probably talk about communities, because at the end of the day, the environment that you put yourself in is actually quite crucial to your success. Because if the environment is not conducive or doesn't make it easy for you to, kind of get the workouts in, to push yourself enough, to do quality stuff, then you actually have to depend on yourself to do that, which is again the crux of motivation is you want to actually use as little motivation as possible and let it almost come as kind of a byproduct or make it feel very natural, right? You're actually looking forward to doing the thing. So I think communities can be a great way to look at it, like different fitness communities. And I think this is also why a large portion of people right now who are trying to get started, they tend to go to things like F45, um, what's the latest one? Like BFT,
CrossFit?
Fit Stop. I think there's a whole different bunch. I mean, I see so many popping up over everywhere, Orange Theory, things like this where they try to do a lot of different classes and I noticed a bigger trend where they actually put a lot of classes where it's buddy kind of workouts and things like this, where they pair people up and they scale the workouts to it. So it provides a really good environment and atmosphere for people who are maybe intimidated by just going into a regular gym, like intimidated by all the array of equipment is confusing. What do I use? Intimidated by other people that are like really, really in shape. And maybe even just intimidated by like the people that seem to all know what they're doing, but you don't know what you're doing kind of thing. So I
Mm.
think a lot of these kind of fitness communities tends to try to be as inclusive as possible when you do go down, because after all, you're paying for it, right?
Yeah,
After
that's
you're
true.
paying for it. Like if you're going for a class, you're paying for it. So there's that sense of belonging, I think. The sense of belonging helps because it helps you start to form parts of that identity as being somebody who's into fitness, right? So if you join a CrossFit gym, you start to identify as like, hey, I joined a CrossFit gym, I'm a CrossFitter. I start do powerlifting and I join a gang of people who also like, hey, come and do powerlifting first, and then we train
Yeah.
together around the same time. I become a powerlifter. I train with some bodybuilders, I become a bodybuilder kind of thing. So I think that is crucial into kind of shaping that identity. And again, like I might say CrossFitter and all this kind of stuff, but it could even be like I'm a football player. I go and play soccer with my buddies. And then, even if you go to the gym, you could go with your buddies and then you're trained for football, things like this. I'm sure like you used to play rugby and stuff, right? So that sense of belonging is so powerful. Don't you think so?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, even coming back to the gym, I've spoken to people that they just find going to the gym and working out on the weights and all that very boring. But
Yes.
then they love CrossFit. And I'm like, but you're doing weights in CrossFit. what's the difference? The element of the difference there is that it's the community aspect that they push, and there's very high energy. They're
Yeah.
motivating each other all the time, and so that works for them.
Yeah.
And so when you get plugged into a community like that, it's like what they always say is like when you take a seed, what type of flower that's going to grow into is dependent upon the soil. You know, if you put it into bad soil, it's not going to produce. But if you put it into good soil, it's going to grow up and it's going to produce great flowers. So it's the same kind of thing. If you're a person that really gets your energy and everything from being around people and getting motivated by people around you, I find fitness communities to be a great thing. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of like F45 program itself, but you know,
Oh,
if that's the thing you
don't
can
get me
buy
started.
into to get consistent exercise, by all
Yeah.
means, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, man. In fact, I've actually changed. That's one of the things I've changed my views on, which is I used to be very against like all the HIIT classes or the F45s, so this kind of stuff, because I was just using it purely from my lens as
Yeah,
somebody who's trying to achieve a very specific thing. And I was looking at it as like, why the hell were you going there and do a random bunch of exercises strung together, making yourself just tired just for the sake of it? Like, sure, you're exercising is better than nothing, but you're not getting anywhere, that kind of thing. Like, it's not specific. Because if you understand anything about programming, it's not like really well programmed in the sense that it's not specific enough, right? But then as I coached more and I understood things and I broadened out my perspective on things a lot more and tried to understand, gain some empathy for people who are starting out, I realized that, you know what, you're totally right. Like the buy-in is just the most important thing.
yeah,
The mode can come later, the education can come later, but you just need to get excited about moving and doing exercise and just being active again. Like we need to make that enjoyable so that people actually start doing it.
that's
If
right.
you don't do it, if you don't find it enjoyable, like if you go to like the worst thing I hear right now is sometimes when people go to, let's say, like a gym, they hire a trainer for a trial session, right? Or they hire a trainer for like 10 sessions or something. And the trainer thinks that it's their job to kill that client at that workout, right? Like make them so sore they can't move and things like this. And then the client's like, oh man, like so scared to come back for the next session. Like what can you think about what is that impact you're putting on the person? Right now they are associating working out with torture, with pain, with this level of like discomfort that I'm dreading it. I don't want to go for, and they start coming up with excuses, trying to get more flaky on you. I don't want to come for a session. So yeah, it creates the wrong relationship with fitness. Like the whole point is we need to get people, it's like the frog in the water, and then you turn on the heat, right? You
Yeah,
can't put a frog into boiling water. The frog will die and quickly try to jump out.
yeah,
You could put the frog in the water cold and you turn up the heat slowly. And then, next thing you know, the frog is like too far gone because the water starts to boil and it was too gradual, right?
yeah.
A little bit morbid, but that's kind of how it works, right? Where you need to have that small little gateway activity into it, get a part of the community. In this sense, it is a positive thing. So you get a part of the community, and then as you do it, you open up your horizons a little bit more and you say, like, hey, I'm doing this a bit more now. I perhaps want to understand how to do it a bit better. And
Yeah.
then you go from there and say, like, oh, now I understand this thing. I learn a bit more about this thing. Oh, maybe I should be structuring my workouts in this way, the other way. You get some guidance and things like this as well. Yeah. So I think 100% I'm with you on that. That buy-in is so important for most people. And joining a fitness community can be like the simplest way to get some sort of buy-in.
And you touched on a very good point there. When we're talking about fitness community, we're not always talking about a gym.
Yeah.
Like you gave there is like could be a football, it could be a
Yeah.
basketball, it could be in my case, like you alluded to the rugby, and so on and so
Yeah.
on. But it's getting into whatever community that of whatever sport or exercise that fits you, that suits you. If it's running, get into a running club. If it's cycling, go see if there's a cycling club in your local community.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Because the main thing is the activity, right? Like it's about getting moving and getting started and being motivated enough and excited by the thing to be able to put the time aside to go and do it. Then when you go and put the time aside to do it, because that's where you develop passion, right? like passion doesn't just come to you. You can't just suddenly say, "Oh, I'm passionate about football. I'm passionate about this sport." And you might be interested in it, but when you go and do it, you might not develop passion for it, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you go and do the thing, and it feels exciting enough, and you get a lot of positive feedback when you do it. Either from other people or from your own self or from the results that you're getting, whatever it is. You develop more and more of a passion for doing the thing, and that's where you'll be like, "Oh wow, I want to do this thing so much better now." And then you start to look at how can I do this thing better? And then we explore, oh, maybe we can try to use the gym to get you stronger and better at training certain qualities so that you can get better at doing this sport. So the perfect example is like I had a consultation with a lady relatively recently. Um, and she said like, I hate the gym. I totally dislike lifting weights. This is not the thing for me. And I was asking her, okay, cool. Like, what other things do you like then? What do you enjoy? She said, oh, but I really love tennis. Every week I take one tennis lesson. I at least play like another round of like matches with one of my other friends. I said, okay, cool. Have you ever thought about how you could improve your tennis game through using the gym to improve certain fitness qualities? And she was like, oh yeah, actually I did not think about that from that perspective. And I said, yeah, because if you just think about the gym in and of itself, that means nothing to you. But the gym as a tool to help you get better at the thing that you're passionate about, it just makes it so much easier for you to accept that, right?
Yeah, that's
Because
a
the
good one.
gym is the gym is boring for a lot of people. I'm fortunate that the gym is the thing that I enjoy. But even for me, there are some days where I find it boring as well. I mean, like it sounds blasphemous to say as a bodybuilder, but like I find it boring as well. I can't wait to get out of the gym sometimes, you know? And so if it's that way for me, then what more for somebody who is just not interested at lifting weight up and down, for multiple times, right? So yeah, so I think just finding that and understanding that and then allowing yourself, to develop the passion for something, like some sort of activity, is really important. And the easiest gateway to that is just joining in some sort of fitness community.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up really, is that,
Mm.
we're social creatures. At least 90% of us are social creatures. And
Yeah.
and so
COVID
from
has
that,
proven that. COVID has proven that, right? Everybody cooped up for too long and everybody's like, oh man, I need some connection.
yeah, you need that connection. And so when you're looking at fitness, rather than looking at it as the drudgery that it can be, is look at the social aspect of it. Let me link up with my friends. Let me link up with a new community. Let me get to learn new people. Let me plug into a new community that I've moved to through this particular activity. And it makes life more enjoyable the more you spend it with other people in that way.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Awesome. So I think we'll give it a close on that point. For those of you that have listened to us and find anything interesting, you can be sure to follow us on Spotify, or we release a new episode mostly every Monday. And hopefully
Well,
we'll be
let's
very
just say every
consistent.
Monday. I believe by the time this episode comes out, we are still doing it every Monday.
Hopefully we'll
Just,
be
just a
consistent.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we started this as a little for the heck of it thing, right? Way back in 2021, and now we're restarting it again just because new avenues of content creation, and yeah, I think more than ever it's become a bit more relevant.
But I think our
You know.
focus has also slightly changed, where previously we were focused a lot on just like men stuff, like trying to
Oh
grow as
yeah,
big as we could. Now we're
yeah,
actually trying to really be inclusive and focus on do general health for everybody.
yeah. Because at the end of the day, your health is wealth, right? Like that's the thing. You can have everything, but if you don't have your health, like you'll be willing to give up everything just to get your health back.
Yeah. And that is why we say in our podcast description, we say that this podcast is your guide to turning back the years by rediscovering your strength and inner athlete, because life after 40 is just getting started.
Very good.
All right. We'll catch you all in the next episode. Have a great
All
one.
right, cool.
All right.
Everyone, have a good one.